stand right there, Mom. That's
You
fine.
need to get a picture. We need a picture in front of it.
Okay, here, Chris, here, I'll get down here.
Okay, Nick and Andrew and just, yeah, there you go. Okay, guys.
2, 3.
Away in the manger.
Started way too low.
The Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle.
This is 10 days after the wedding anniversary, the 50th wedding anniversary. Kind of take us back and give me a sense of what it was like 50 years ago at the wedding. Where were you married?
Mountain Lutheran Church, about the only church in Adams.
Mountain?
Lutheran Church.
Who was there? Was it a big wedding?
No. For one thing, there was, such bad weather, people couldn't get out. But we didn't, we didn't have a big wedding. I didn't have a wedding dress. I didn't have the white wedding dress with the veil and all that stuff. We just had a wedding with each an attendant, and that was it. But the one that was going to sing at our wedding couldn't get out there either, so the minister and his wife sang, and they weren't very good, but at least it was at least it was a song. We had, and no, just the immediate relatives actually were invited in the first place.
And didn't you all stay in the same house on your wedding night?
No, we couldn't all stay in the same house, but we were sure crowded into the house. And then, of course, my mother knew a lot of people around, so she got them to take the rest of the people in. Because nobody could get home even from 1.5 miles out of town.
And so you spent your honeymoon night in your mom's house?
Yeah.
Pretty quiet, uninterrupted night?
On a cot.
No, it was a single bed.
A single bed. And at 1 o'clock an alarm went off. And everybody everybody was in bed, we found that out. But the alarm went off, and here we've come to find out where they hid the alarm in the tub upside underneath, and lifted and put it under our bed. When we get up, you had to lift the bed up and get the tub. And we checked, and there were 2 more alarms to go off, one at each hour.
It woke them up.
There must have been something that happened before all this wedding stuff.
Well, the war, of course.
And
So you met Grandpa in Okinawa?
I met him in Bremerton, Washington, though.
Oh, really?
He was stationed there as a Marine, yes.
so it's early 1940s, and you're in Bremerton, and where are you?
Well, I'd been in Alaska, at that time I'd been in Alaska for 16 months. And then Roy and I decided, we decided we'd go out to dance. And we danced with her.
Well, in
Alaska?
you were just in Alaska, and all of a sudden now you're
Back in Bremerton,
Oh, okay.
where she worked. And so we decided we were going to go dance that night. We just hated that Bremerton. Because we would get out and see her. So then I danced with her. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try and find that nurse from Dakota again. I went there. There was a nurse from Minnesota. But then it was intermission, so then I guess we had a pop or something intermission. And then I asked to take her home, so we went home that night. Well, then the next Friday night, then I told Roy I'm going to go out and see if I could see that nurse from Dakota again.
You don't know her name still,
Same
but...
place.
So I said all I remember was that we were on a West Park bus, and we got off at a picket fence and walked her home, and some sailors walked Clarice home. But anyway, so that's right, so I figured, well, I'll go back to that, I'll get on the West Park bus, I'll get off at the picket fence on the hill, and then I suppose I walked maybe a half a mile, and I saw the bus coming, so I kind of hurried. Then I come up on the hill here, she and Clarice and her girlfriend were standing there waiting to get on the bus. They were going to go to lose the league. So
that was the second meeting?
Yeah, we went to...
You went to Luther League together?
No, we didn't.
No.
We went to a movie or something.
As a Marine, you were on the Navy base?
Well, we're all with Marines, always, they take care of the Navy installations, you know. That's what we have to do, guard for them.
And at this time was, the World War II was going on.
Oh, sure, this is, after that, then after we'd,
Had you already been out overseas and come back?
I've
or-
been to Alaska.
Okay.
But now then, we went back, then I was sent back, then I didn't want to be there. At that time, we had gone, Roy and I went into Sergeant Major every day for 7 days trying to get out of Erickson. We just, they were too, everything was
This was
so
before you met
cheap.
Mom?
Yeah. Yeah, at that time, gosh, you know, if we could have stayed there, why? But anyway, they sent us, and we went to training in San Diego, and then we went to overseas for the.
So you, 2 dates and you went overseas?
Oh, no.
Oh, it wasn't. No, we must
We
have
went a
had.
lot more than that,
I don't know. We must have had half a dozen dates,
I'm sure.
I suppose, something like that.
But,
I-
and you weren't, and there was no engagement or
no.
anything. This is the Dakota girl and
Marine boy.
on Fridays and the Minnesota girl on Saturdays and
Yeah. She did make me a cake before I went.
yeah. What was your fondest or keenest or most powerful memory of childhood family life?
Just playing all of us together.
How many?
Well, there were 8 of us kids, you know, and well, there was 10 of us in the 2-bedroom house all the time, and then of course when their friends come and visit, the relatives, some of them they came from Albert Lee and down there, and the kids always wanted to stay at our place. So if there was room on the floor, where you laid out some blankets and had another bed.
So your mom and dad were in one bedroom and the 8 of you, the kids were in the
No,
other?
Mom and Dad were in the share, we all, George and I, no, later on, Verdie and Russell and Sylvia and Ray were in the same bedroom as Mother and Dad. And then Julian and Orville and George and I had other bedroom. That far apart. We had 5 full beds up there.
And Grandpa was farming and Grandma was housekeeping?
Yeah. And Grandpa had a lot of, he had pneumonia 4 times. And there were 63 kids in our country school when I was in 3rd grade. You know, they'd come from, you know, the families seemed like from 3 to a dozen, you know.
Where were you? Where was this? In this area?
15 miles north of Monty.
Okay.
Where you saw that house that we lived in?
Right.
About 10 miles north of that.
Mom, what was your most interesting or keenest or fondest memory of childhood family life?
It was Christmas because my folks made a lot for Christmas. We had always had our Christmas Eve at home, and we had, I remember the gifts that I've gotten. One year Dad had won a little car that we could sit in and paddle, you know. And that was, of course, the joy of the neighborhood, so it got worn out in a hurry. But I do remember that was a big thrill. And one year I got 4 books, and I really thought I'd hit really the top of anything I could get.
What 4 books?
Well, I don't remember that, but they were big ones. They were about that big, you know, and thick. But I suppose they were all Dick and Jane stories, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember that at all. But I sure remember those 4 books, and opening that was really something. There were things that...
And how many kids in the family?
We were 4 girls, and we were 5 girls and a boy. I do remember that we had one Christmas where a cousin of mine, an aunt and a cousin stayed at our place because my grandmother was ill. And they were from Canada, and the little boy developed diphtheria and died on Christmas Eve. Wow. And he was 2 years old and a real cute little guy. And
In the house?
In the house, on the Davenport, right beside the Christmas tree. And then afterwards, Clarice, my youngest sister living, developed diphtheria. And so we were quarantined, and I was in 5th grade at school at that time. And we were quarantined for 6 weeks My oldest sister got out because she was in high school and she could live with a neighbor lady who had been a nurse at one time, so she wasn't afraid of her. And the rest of us couldn't go to school for 6 weeks. We had to just stay in the house, and Dad stayed out someplace and brought groceries to the house. And otherwise we were isolated there.
Who else got it?
Nobody else got it. We all got shots for it, and nobody else got it. And she was the only one that had eaten a popcorn ball that was on that tree right by where he was sick. And, you know, whether that was the reason or not, nobody knows, but, you know, they can think about that anyway. And when, I remember when my brother was born, he was 6, he was,
Clifford.
yeah, Clifford was born. I was the only one that would get up and see him. He was born late at night. And I was the only one that would go in and see him when they told us we could go and see him. The rest thought they wouldn't be able to sleep if they saw him, so they wouldn't go in and look at him. I don't know what the deal was. And when he was 6 weeks old, my youngest sister, Alda, died from ruptured appendix. They thought it was the flu, you know, and didn't know any better at that time.
And
So how old were
was
you?
She was 3.
How old was she? How old were you when Clifford was born?
Well, I must have been 7, because I'm 7 years older than he is.
Did you have a pretty good income? Was the family relatively well-to-do?
My dad got, well, I think we were, when you compare what everybody else had. My dad had a steady job of $45 a month, and he'd come home and we'd always see him give Mom so much for groceries and stuff, and she always had extra people staying there, like nieces or nephews that lived in the country and went to school. And they always furnished us with all our cream and butter and meat and all that stuff, so our grocery bills were small, I suppose. And we always had a car, from I think the first cars that were invented. I'm not sure, but I can remember cars all the time. So I think that, you know, we were considered not wealthy, but certainly, you know, people talk about the dirty 30s, and I remember how dusty it was, but I can never remember being poor, where other people talk about being poor all the time, and I can't remember that.
We left off at the farm, and I'd see if we at least need one farm story, and so it might be the purchase of the farm in Benson. So how did, you rented in Watson, and you rented in Montevideo.
The way that happened, Orville and Lucille didn't get married. So Dad, when Orville went up to town, he was hoping he wouldn't have to take his money out of that, so Orville had to take a loan. So then Orville could just move in so then he just get some from Ellingson. He figured Ellingson had money, so he borrowed a little from him, and then Orville wouldn't have to dig out any. Well, then he come up there and he says, no, he says, I won't, you can't loan that, I'm going to loan that to Calmer and Lillian so they can buy a farm. We've never heard anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
Next day, Orville come down there and he said, you better go look, you know, up for a farm. Orville, I said, I've looked, I said, I can't get a loan any place. I said, you know, we don't have any money enough for that. Well, then he told me what they'd been up to. We were on the cow farm at that time. So then he said, what happened, you know, the other thing he said he was going to. So then, well, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't want to borrow Elling's money.
Who's Elling?
My uncle that stayed with us. We didn't want him to, we didn't want to sit on his money, and then all of my nephews and nieces, or all of his nephews and nieces then, be sitting breathing down our neck wondering when they're going to get the money, you know, if anything happened. Because he was close to 90. And, well, anyway, so I didn't want to go on. Well, one day we went to Sylvia and Orville drove out there. He said, let's drive out there because it said where it was. And, well, so I said they wouldn't sell this for all that money. So we didn't look anyway. So we went, so we borrowed, we didn't, but we couldn't get enough from him. He didn't have enough for that, to buy the farm. So we borrowed some from Lill's folks and a little bit from my folks, and then we put our 2 bits in there.
So, and this was the Benson farm.
That's the Benson farm.
And how many acres, and what did it cost an acre?
135 an acre at that time for that 120 acres. Then we, that was in 1947. No, 57. 1957.
Brad started school.
Pardon?
It was the year that Brad started school.
Yeah, and of course we moved up in 58. The year was 57. That was the year we bought. Yeah, 57 we bought that. Moved up and we moved up early, so we could start school here. And then in 67, then we bought the 200 acres down by the graph.
One thing that I really don't know much about, which I would like to know more about, is also the story of Karen.
Oh, well, she was born when Bruce was 2 years old. She was born on May 1st, and he would have been 2 on May 17th. And she was born with, and this is something that you girls should know too, or the boys too, someday maybe have a baby. She had an open spine, which is called spina bifida, and she had, because of that, she developed what they call a waterhead. We call it hydrocephalic head. And so she lived 4 months, and then the sac that held her spinal cord ruptured, and then of course she got an infection in it and died within a few days.
So she was 4 months old.
And that was your second child.
Yeah, second one. And she's buried at the Zion Church in Watson. I mean, there were lots of funny times, you know, like when you ran off, you were such a wanderwort. And so you would run off down the road and somebody would stop in and say, well, Bruce is down the road. I think it's your little boy down the road, but the dog wouldn't let me pick him up. And so I guess you'll have to go down and get him. So then I'd have to trot down and get him. One time, sometimes you'd go one way and sometimes you'd go the other way, so we never knew for sure where you were. Or else you'd go down to this pond that we talked about the other time. Brad didn't start walking quite so early, but he crawled all over, and anything that was on the ground went into his mouth. And Jana started running around when she was 8 months old and never stopped. But anyway, we had all these hay bales upstairs in the barn, and they liked to go up there and play, but we had a bull downstairs, and I said, Dad says you must not go out to the, out to the barn because he might stomp on you. And so we'd given them strict orders not to go inside the barn, and pretty soon Brad and Bruce came dashing in the house. He was pale as a ghost, and he just grabbed my hand and said, come on, and I thought for sure Brad was under the hoofs of the bull. But when I got out there, he went right upstairs, which led right, was right by the door. And he was wedged in the bales like this, and with his arms up. And I tried to reach him, and I couldn't, and I said, well, you're going to have to run and get Dad, because I tried to move the bales, and I couldn't. They were, big and heavy. But before he got going, I did reach down, and I grabbed Brad's arms and just pulled him right out, just like he had slid in, I suppose. When he came in, he said, after we all got inside, he said, I'd do anything to save Brad and Jana, and I don't even like Brad.
Kevin and I were out doing homework on this deserted road. And it had been raining and raining, and for some reason, I don't even remember why, we took my dad's car, which was Dad's child. That was another child in our family. And we got stuck. And so we hitchhiked into Benson and got a ride by some classmates of Kevin's who just thought it was wonderful. Kev picked up a car at the Johnsons, and we went out to the farm. And it was fairly late by that time because this all took time. And so my first inclination was to wake up my mother, who would be on my side and who would just, okay, your father's going to react, but I'll be on your side. We'll do this together. And I go, Mom, gotta wake up. The car is stuck out in a lane somewhere in the country. And the grin on her face just did me in, and it was, wake up your father. That was all. There was no help from my mother. She loved every minute of it.
What happened to your car that one time, Brad?
Wasn't Plymouth Barracuda.
Well, you better come in here to tell that story.
We drove down to Granite Falls, and I bought the
that's the blue one, yeah.
The hottest car in West Central Minnesota.
Yeah.
Plymouth Barracuda was baby blue, it was 440 dual. It was the fastest car in West Central Minnesota. It was hot. And on the way home, it burned 1.5 quarts oil, which
Took a quarter and a half to go for granted
wasn't a big deal. But Dad came into Lorenz's that Monday and he said, "Give me the keys, I'm gonna go get your money back." It was my money. I said, "No, I'm keeping it." And he said, "No, you're not." And finally he said, "Give me the keys, I'll pay for your new car." Well, he was going to win the argument anyway, now it's his money. I'm taking my money back. So Mickey drove me home, and there in the driveway was a 63 Rambler Classic, in place of my Plymouth Barracuda.
I think Dad won on that one both ways.
Send you a happy new year.
That's the one we sang, wasn't it? But it was different song, or different.
I can't remember, I heard that one.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
So,
What child is this?
Yeah.